everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this content marketing strategy guide, we're going to be going through the 7 steps of building a content marketing machine that can help you consistently pump out content without hitting burnout. So we're definitely going to talk about how to make sure you can keep going with your content without hitting that inevitable burnout that a lot of entrepreneurs and content creators hit. So make sure you check out the timestamp table of contents in the description, along with some other helpful links that I'll be referencing throughout this guide. Now, before we dive into these 7 steps, and the good news is some of these steps you only need to do once. We're building your content machine here. We need to talk about the number 1 key to success when it comes to content creation, and that is choosing one platform. So when you're just getting started putting together your content marketing strategy, you need to choose one core platform, one core medium of content, and then everything else will syndicate out from there. When we get into one of the later building blocks, you'll see how you can take one piece of content, actually syndicate it across all the other channels that are out there. But we do need to make sure that you choose one. So there are 3 to choose from that I recommend. Number 1 is WordPress writing. Number 2 is podcasting or audio. And number 3 is video. Now, obviously, personally, I think video is the best place to go. It's not really the future. Video is here and it's here to stay. So if you're not comfortable on video, like the other 99.9% of people who start video and you don't ever think you want to do it, then you can look at podcasting. And if for some strange reason you never want to record your voice, then you can look at blogging. But I'm just going to add up front here, blogging is the hardest one out of these 3, video being the hardest to get started, but you're going to see the results the fastest. And this content marketing strategy is going to apply irrespective of which one you ultimately choose. If you do text, you'll be on WordPress. If you do podcasting, of course, you'll be on iTunes and Stitcher or whatever other app the people want to use who listen to your podcast. And then, of course, if you want to do video, then YouTube is the way to go. So once you've chosen your platform, it's time to talk about what type of content to make. Making an actual content plan. So there's a link in the description that actually walks you through how to put together an ideal customer avatar. But for purposes of this content marketing strategy, I'm going to assume you have a rough idea of who you want to make content for. So let's go ahead and figure out what type of content to make. And there are only 2 questions we need to jumpstart our planning process so we can create our content calendar and also come up with an endless stream of content ideas so you never sit down in front of your computer or the camera and go, I don't know what to talk or write about. So the very first step is answering these 2 questions. What is the big result that your ideal customer, viewer, audience member is after? And then what is getting in their way? What do they think is keeping them from the results that they want? So in this particular strategy guide, I'm going to use the example of someone who's trying to grow a YouTube channel. So the typical results that someone who's trying to grow a YouTube channel is after is obviously grow their YouTube channel, probably quit their day job, and then make some money or full-time income from their YouTube channel. What's getting in the way of all those wonderful results they want? Well, probably things like not getting enough views, not ranking, maybe they think their video quality isn't that great, they're just seeing slow subscriber growth, and they're trying to figure out why the heck they can't grow their channel and make money. Okay, perfect. So this is really all you need when it comes to what type of content you're going to make. So we're going to get more specific as we go down. And now that you have a rough idea of the big things your ideal viewer or customer wants to accomplish and what they think is in their way, the next step is coming up with some categories based upon these 2 lists. So it's important you do the list and then do the categories. And so you simply want to look at these and say, okay, which one of these would be a big overarching category that I could make a lot of content about? And you want to choose 3 to 5 topics or categories that you're going to talk about. And you're going to see how this is important in a second when we come up with our content calendar. In this particular example, the 3 topics could be video production, monetization, and channel growth. And what's great about doing it this way is it keeps your content focused on your ideal viewer or customer, but it also keeps your content fresh so you're not talking about the same thing over and over and over again while you're still making sure you're playing within your marketplace or niche. So I recommend posting 3 times per week. And so what we can do here with our example is we can make a specific day of the week a topic that we've chosen that's really important to our ideal viewer. So in this example, we have Mondays can be all about video production, Then Wednesdays can be about monetization tactics. And then finally on Fridays, we could talk about channel growth. And posting 3 times per week, we're making sure that we're keeping our content fresh and rotating through different styles or topics that are all still related to growing a YouTube channel that would be relevant to our ideal customer. Now, once we have our topics down, it's time to actually figure out the pieces of content that we're going to be putting together. And for at least 2 out of the 3 of these platforms, it's going to be very important that you do some keyword research. So we already know what results they're after, and we've already know what kind of things they're struggling with, and we have our topics. So now it's time to fill in our content calendar of at least 12 posts per month. So the best way to do this is to use some free SEO tools to do your keyword research. So you can use something like Answer the Public, SEMrush, or BuzzSumo. All of these tools are free, and what they allow you to do is search for keywords and search your different topics and to help you figure out what to make your content about. So Answer the Public is going to be the best one on this list for understanding that how-to style content. So in our particular example, we type in how to rank videos or how to make money on YouTube using the Answer the Public search engine. And then we could go to BuzzSumo and SEMrush and get some ideas on types of headlines we could put together for our content, as well as the specific keywords we should target to help rank on YouTube or Google if we're putting together blog or YouTube content. Now, the last thing we need to do before we're done planning our content, and once we've chosen our keywords using this tool, is I actually highly recommend writing your titles and your little social teaser text. So something that I do is I'll go over to a coffee shop and I'll sit there for 5 or 6 hours and I will do all of my keyword research, and I will also do all of my titles for the content that I'm going to produce over the next month in one sitting. It makes it very easy when you're in the next step, create, when you don't have to sit down and try and think about, okay, I have this keyword, but what am I going to talk about? When you have a title, it's a lot easier to come up with your content topic. And if you're going to be doing any sort of outsourcing, which is something I'm going to recommend, or delegation, then it's going to be a lot easier to pass it off to somebody else if you already have your keyword and your topic and your title down. So that does it for the plan phase, right? So now we have a nice content calendar that has our keywords and also has our topic ideas along with actual headlines for our pieces of content. And the next step of our content machine is create. Now, before we dive into the 3 steps in creation, I want to talk about the 2 different types of content you can make and how to choose which one you should start with. And we have authority building content and relationship building content. So authority building content provides high value, actionable content. These are in-depth YouTube tutorials similar to this one, LinkedIn Pulse posts, and just in-depth blog articles that are 2,000 or 3,000 words long. Then we have relationship building content, which is a lot more on the document and personal side of things. And this is where you're essentially bringing people inside of part of your journey, whatever that journey may be, and showing the ups and the downs. It's very important that you do ups and downs, not just high life all the time, right? We need to talk about have real talk every once in a while about the struggles of whatever you're documenting. On this particular YouTube channel, I actually do both. I have a vlog that's all relational where I just talk about day-to-day life as an entrepreneur, and then authority building content, which is in-depth tutorials very similar to this one. Now, using this diagram, you can choose which ones to share and which ones to skip. Now, something that you can do to get started immediately if you're starting to feel overwhelmed with everything that you have to do is you can start with simply documenting. Think about one of the roadblocks or struggles or results that you identified when you were coming up with your general kind of content ideas. Choose one of those that you've already achieved or one that you're working towards, and then just create a series of blog posts, audio, or video of you trying to achieve that result or you telling the story of how you achieve that result. As an example, on this channel, when I first got started, I documented the entire process. One time a week, I jumped on and I just did a webcam thing for 20 to 30 minutes, and I talked about everything I'd done over the past week to try and put together a sales funnel. Now, what's great about this example, and also embarrassing, is it ultimately failed, right? But even though I completely failed in that, I was able to continue to make content because I had gotten comfortable, well, as comfortable as you can be, just talking into a camera. And then I also learned what was important and what wasn't important because I was able to use one of the later steps to figure out how to make content improvements in the future. So whichever type of content you choose, there are three main parts to creating your content. There's the outline, then there's the actual content portion where you're doing the writing or the production, and then finally there is the graphics. And this is all before we get into the post-production and editing. So the very first thing you want to do is to create an outline. Figure out what the heck your content's going to be about. So for this, I have a 3-question content frame that I use every time I sit down to write a piece of content when I either already have my headline or I just have a keyword and I have to come up with my headline. So for this particular example, I'm going to be going back to our customer avatar here and looking at the keyword, how to get more views. All right, so that's something I got from Answer the Public, SEMrush, or BuzzSumo. Okay, great. So the first thing is to try and figure out what question does this keyword represent? Because each keyword that's typed into Google or YouTube represents someone asking a question. So the question is, how do I get more views to my videos? Okay, great. So when someone's asking that question, what is the ultimate result that they want? Well, they want to get more subscribers and grow their channel and probably eventually be full-time on YouTube or make a part-time income on YouTube. So that's the big result behind why they're asking this question, behind why they're typing in how to get more views. So the final part of this 3 steps is looking at the perceived roadblock. Okay, what is getting in the way of them getting the result that they want, more subscribers, and answering their question of how do they get more views? In this particular case, my channel is too small to compete and I don't have a budget for better equipment or ads. Okay, great. So now that we have a clear estimated picture of the intent and what someone actually wants to achieve when they're engaging with a piece of content after they've typed in how to get more views, we can create our headline and we can also create a teaser intro. So here's how I'd create the headline for this particular piece of content. And by the way, for this particular keyword, we could make multiple headlines. We can make multiple different pieces of content. But of course, if we did, we'd want to make sure that we only post one version of that per week so we don't have how to get more views, 5 days in a row. So for this particular example, the video title could be something like how to get more views as a small channel, in parentheses, under 500 subs. And then the video introduction would go something like this. In this video, you're going to learn a video ranking strategy that allows you to compete with larger channels on YouTube, even if you have less than 500 subscribers. So now I'm going to highlight the key points of this. So the first one is get more views. This is specifically talking to the keyword and is specifically pointing out to whoever's typing this in that their question of how to get more views is going to be answered in this video. Now in red, we have where we're calling out the actual roadblocks. So we're showing that we understand their situation. They're a small channel. They're under 500 subscribers. In the introduction, I again reiterate, they have less than 500 subscribers and they're struggling to compete with larger channels. Now, when it comes to the desired result, this is a bit of a stretch here, but we're looking at video ranking strategy as the mechanism that's going to ultimately get them the result that they're looking for, larger channels and more views. And with this information, you can go ahead and write your content outline, or you can have someone else, a professional writer or a script writer, produce your content outline. So if you're going to look and have someone do a video script for you, something I actually don't recommend because it's going to come off a little unnatural, or you want to do a podcast script, or you want someone to actually just write the blog post for you, well, then you're probably looking at anywhere from $200 to $500 to get a really decent product. So Fiverr, Upwork, and Freelancer. There's also Guru. And then if you're going to do graphics, 99 Designs is a great place to go as well. So these are just kind of ranges of what you can expect to pay. Obviously, you can find things a lot cheaper and it can get a lot more expensive, but this is just kind of an average that you're probably going to wind up paying in the very beginning. Obviously, you're going to be able to lower your costs as you go forward and build your machine and process, so there's not so much back and forth in terms of what you're looking for. You're going to get a much better picture of how to communicate with somebody else in helping you produce your content. Now, if you choose to put together the piece of content for yourself, you've done everything yourself up until this point, I highly recommend looking for someone to help you with the proofreading or editing process. So if you're doing a video or a podcast, you're going to look for someone to cut out all the ums and ahs. And if you're doing a blog post, then you just need someone who's actually going to proofread it, and it's best if they're a native speaker in your language, of course. And this is going to range anywhere from $75 all the way up to $200, depending upon how long your video is, how long your blog post is, and how many mistakes need to be removed. And of course, again, looking at graphics, you're looking at $15 to $50. And this is something that you can either do yourself, where you tell a graphic designer exactly what you want for your video or what you want as your podcast thumbnail or for your blog header, or you can do it yourself in something like Canva. Tons of tutorials on this channel on how to use Canva to do that if you're on a really tight budget. And with that, we're ready to multiply our content through syndication. So let's go ahead and take a look at this chart. We'll be here a while, and I'm going to walk you through every single piece of syndication that you can do with your content. So we'll start with blogs. So if you're doing a blog, obviously you don't need to syndicate to WordPress because it's already on WordPress. But for a podcast, you can record yourself reading and commentating on the post. For YouTube, you can record a summary of the post of you just commentating on it. You can just use a webcam video for this, or you could create a slide presentation and do a screen capture of 3 to 5 main points. Pinterest is pretty much going to be the same for all of these, where you're going to want to create a custom Pinterest optimized image for 3 to 5 different designs for each post that you make. On LinkedIn, if you're doing a blog, you can go ahead and post the introduction or a preview to your blog post and then link up to the main blog to drive traffic back to your site. Instagram, you can either create a quote post independent of your blog or in relation to your blog post. It's very important with Instagram, with all of these, that it stands on their own. It's not something where you drive traffic back to the original piece of content. Or you could resize something you've done for Pinterest and post it with a meaningful caption and quote on Instagram. Next, we have our podcast. So for WordPress, step number 1, we could just post the recording. Step number 2, we could post the recording with a transcript. Or step number 3, we could hire someone to transform the transcript into an actual post. And then with YouTube, you can actually just do a video of yourself recording the podcast and post it directly to YouTube. Or if you don't want to show your beautiful face, then you can go ahead and just upload the audio and have the thumbnail of your podcast showed throughout the entire video. Pinterest, you can do the exact same thing. And then LinkedIn, you'd pull out 2 to 3 minutes of high value from your podcast and just post that as a post. You could also post it as a pulse post if you add some text below it. And then, of course, on Instagram, you can make a 60-second tidbit of something from your podcast in addition to creating a quote post. Finally, we have video, and with video, you can post the video to your blog. Again, you can transcribe it, and again, you can hire someone to transform the transcript into a full post. With your podcast, you can actually take out the audio from your video and just make sure at the beginning of your podcast you say it was originally a YouTube video. Pinterest, the same thing. LinkedIn, pretty much the same as with a podcast. And finally, on Instagram, you can have someone chop up your video so that it shows up as a 60-second post. And that is how you take one of the 3 core pieces of content, whichever one you do, and you syndicate it across everything else. Now, if this looks like an overarching daunting task, stick with me because there's something very key in the second to next step. Now, once you have your syndication plan and you've screenshotted that chart and you figured out which ones you want to do first, you're ready for the next step, which is something that's so simple, but so many people don't do it, and that is engage. Just reply to all your comments so you can learn. Remember earlier I talked about how valuable that documentation process I went through for my first 45 or 50 videos. I learned a lot from the few people who did comment. So even if you have one comment, reply to them. It's so important. It's something you need to include as a part of your content strategy. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed, this next step is definitely for you, and that is delegate. It's something that's vitally important to making sure that your content machine and everything we've talked about works. Because guess what? If you try and do all of this till the end of time, you're definitely going to burn out. I am no stranger to burning out. It's happened multiple times on this channel and documented in my vlog. It's not pretty. This is not a solopreneur game. Creating content takes a team. It doesn't necessarily take an army, but it definitely takes a team. And so what you want to do as part of your process for creating content is also identifying along the way as you go through the process we've just talked about up until this point, what can you delegate? So here's an example breakdown of what you can and cannot delegate. So in red, engage, that's something that you can pretty much almost never delegate. It's really important that if you're posting content as yourself, that it's actually you replying. Now, when it comes to syndication, that's also something, I'm putting it in dark gray here because it's something that you should never do. You should always focus on create and engage, and then these last two, delegate and analyze. But in terms of the actual content production, you're creating and you're engaging. Those are the two things that are really important, and then everything else, as much as possible, you delegate. So the first thing you should delegate is your syndication if you have the budget. If you're on a very tight budget, then the first thing you should look at delegating is your editing process. So if you're doing blog posts, someone else is proofreading it. If you're doing video or podcasts, someone else is editing it. So you can focus on the research and planning, and you can focus on the creation. The next thing you'd want to delegate here is have someone start to take over part of your creation process, and ultimately you can actually hire someone to do that keyword research for you. Once you've done your keyword research a couple times, you're going to have a good idea of what types of keywords to go for and what types of titles work, so you can compile everything that's worked and hand it to a professional SEO person, and they're going to be able to do deep dive keyword research and help you write titles. You could also just hire a copywriter and say, here are some keywords, write me 20 or 30 titles and I'll just choose the ones that work. That's another great way to do that. And you can find people who can do that on Fiverr for 50 to $100, and you get a bunch of ideas pretty much for dirt cheap. Now, of course, I've finally left delegate and analyze in blue because you're probably not going to hire a project manager very soon to work on delegation. So the last step is analyze. And this is where every 3 to 6 months, you're going to look at what's working and what's not. Now you may be wondering, wait, 3 to 6 months? You're saying that I should post content for 3 months and not worry about tracking my metrics? Well, almost. There's one metric that you should track throughout this entire process. There's only one key performance indicator to whether or not your content is going to be successful, and that is number of posts. So every 3 to 6 months, take a look at how your numbers are doing in terms of traffic, clicks, watch time, views, listens, all that fun stuff. But when you're in the moment, when you're working and you're just grinding it out, trying to make another piece of content, your only key performance indicator is the number of posts you've made, because when you're just starting and when you're 500 or 600 posts in, that is really the only metric you can ultimately control. That is the only metric you have 100% control over. You can't control whether Google's going to send you traffic. You can't control whether or not someone's going to leave a review for your podcast. You can't control whether or not the YouTube algorithm is going to magically suggest your video and have it pop, but you can control how many videos you record, how many podcasts you post, and how many blog posts you write or have written for you. And so with that is all 7 steps of creating your content marketing machine. So I hope you found this content marketing strategy video helpful and, most importantly, actionable. So if you got some value out of it, go and hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth marketing tactics and strategies just like the ones covered in this video. Comment below if you have any questions. I still read and reply to every single one. Engage, right? And until the next video, keep building the business you love.